Hello people, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks. Guys, I hope you are well. This video here is specifically for the religious folk. And for people who are not religious, maybe there's something in this video for you too. However, it might challenge your spiritual convictions, your religious convictions, you know, that thing. And who knows? But for those of us who have a belief and a conviction to believe in God, for you guys, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about in this little video here. So, here we go. A storm in your life. It is not the time to leave God, but it's time to trust Him. Okay. Storms come and go. COVID-19 is probably the most devastating global storm that the world has ever experienced. What do you do when you are completely helpless? When you feel totally useless? What do you do when you've run out of every option there is, humanly speaking? Where do you turn to get your strength from? Where do you go to get that extra resolve? From my non-religious folks, I would like to know. From my religious friends, we do know. You see, the thing here is, it doesn't matter whether you are 150 or whether you are 15. You will always experience some kind of turmoil in your life. Sure, some storms are more devastating than others. Some storms are very intense for a very short period of time. Others are less intense, but may take a lifetime for that particular storm to pass. And then, of course, there is every combination imaginable in between. So what am I saying here? My friend, storms is a part of life. Long, difficult ones or short, intense ones. Maybe you'll have a storm that is short but it's not intense. Maybe you'll have a storm that is long and intense. Who knows? But there's one thing that we cannot do with storms. We cannot control the storm. We cannot prevent a storm. It is one of those things. The only thing that we can really do in a storm is to wait it out. Seek shelter. I'm talking natural storms here, of course. But when that storm hits your heart, when that storm hits your mind, when that storm hits your children, when that storm hits you in whatever capacity this particular storm comes, and wreaks its devastation in the area that it's actually hitting, what do we do? The thing is, what can we do? And then, how do we go about all this? When do we do all this? Man, we can ask all these questions and we may not necessarily get any helpful answers, is maybe the best way of putting it. This is where I want to know from my non-religious friends, when life is so devastating because the storm is so bad and so long and so intense, and there's humanly nothing you can do Mentally, there's nothing you can do. How do you guys cope? Is it... I've no idea. But this is what I want to say to my religious friends. I want you to consider Noah. The world was such a wicked place that a gracious God decided He was going to destroy the world. The only place that I know of where the Bible talks about God being sorry that He made man because of how wicked man had become, elevating themselves to the place of godlike status in their minds, narc-like basically. And yet in a world where there were probably hundreds of thousands of people, who knows, there's a small remnant of people who had a pure heart, a fixation on serving God and making sure that they're going to live by the statutes that were designed for our benefit. So God finds these handful of people and He informs them that there's going to come some disaster. A disaster that has never been equaled since. This pandemic that's going on now is not in the same scale. So you can imagine the devastation that that particular disaster had and what caused God, a gracious God, to act in such, I don't want to use the word venom, but in such a manner where everything that He created had to be destroyed. And yet, in the middle of the storm, or before the storm, let's get this in chronological order. Before the storm, God says to this family, go get a shelter in the shape of a boat. And it takes years to complete this project. Once the project was complete, I can just imagine the ridicule. In the desert rain? Come on, man, you're crazy. Now there's a storm coming. Up until the point when the storm did come, that family was safe because they trusted God. The story then goes, they repopulated the earth. They had to, somehow. Now here's the moral of the lesson, if I can put it this way. There's always a God who wants to do what is right. And He does, because He's the ultimate form of purity. But He's gracious enough to give us opportunities to correct our lives. And when you start standing up for what is right, you will always experience ridicule. I've made a video about that. And yet, when the storm comes, only those who can truly trust Him survives the storm. The others, metaphorically, will sink. So my encouragement here for us who are religious is simply this. My friend, when you feel like you are in the storm of life that is ready to devastate your world, you need to find that ark. You need to go find that boat, that safe place. A place where nothing on the exterior really matters, only that you are in God's perfect will at that particular point in time. Knowing full well that the handiwork of your labor to find that safe place was told you by God to make. then it's not a matter of trusting the boat. It's trusting the one who controls the elements. It's trusting the one who you obey, the one who you trust, the one who you have faith and trust in, and your belief system is rooted in the King of Kings. It is only there that you will not only make it through the storm, but when you come out the other end, everything's new, everything is fresh, and you can start again. What I found in my life is when you are going through that storm, nothing is left the same. Because if it hasn't changed during the storm, you haven't experienced the storm. You see, mindsets have to change in a storm. Perspective has to change in a storm. Beliefs have to change during a storm. You don't want to sit in the boat for longer than you should. That is for sure. But let me tell you, if you haven't got a boat, you wish you would have had one when you're in that storm. So my friend, what I'm saying to you is, when you are in that safe place and that storm comes, it is not a matter of cursing the weather. It's not about getting angry with the devil. It's not even about shouting at God about this, that and the other. No. It is then that you become grateful because you have a safe place. It is then where your trust in God is being tested. And in my experience, when you endure the storm and you get out of it the other way, you're a changed man, you're a changed woman. Things are no longer the same because all that stuff that caused the storm is no longer an influence on your life because we've changed. But while you're in the boat, my friend, it is a great opportunity to exercise gratitude and thankfulness, things that this world simply do no longer have. I see too many people who are grabbing without thankfulness. And there are so many people who are so nasty because it's so easy. And yet you feel isolated in the middle of nowhere, sitting in a boat with the same people all the time and personalities and the animal and you can imagine. So what am I saying here, my friend? My friend here is trusting Him regardless of your circumstance. When you start looking at the exterior, nothing will happen on the interior. Storms are designed to rearrange your interior so that your interior will be strong for whatever comes from the exterior. That is the purpose of a storm. And we need to trust the master surgeon to rearrange the interior and as an upgrade from what was before the storm. Then you know, as you look back at what was and how you were, and if you not changed, my friend, you were just a passenger and not a participator. But this little video here is simply an encouragement to say storms are part of life. Unless the interior changes, there's going to come another one. And another one till the interior changes. And only then, when you experience your next storm, it is the previous lessons and changes that has been experienced that will prepare you for the following one. And then so the cycle continues. But to have a trust in a rock solid God is paramount. We've all had these times where we've scratched your head, man. Up about 10 years, my hairline was up to there. And I now, as you can see, it's only because I've rubbed my hair that many times, my head that many times regarding problem solving. I don't even have any more hair to rub as far as that is concerned. It is what it is. So all I want to say to you, my friend, at this particular point in time, establish your trust. Get your relationship with God right. Because when the big one comes, you need to be ready for it. And it's on its way. We all know this. I hope this little video is there to challenge you to rearrange your life in a way that is preparing yourself for the storms of life that is yet to come, because they are in the post. Because you are a better version of who you are now when you go through the storm next week or next month or even next year for that matter. Because where you are now is an upgrade from where you were 5 years or 10 years ago, depending on how many storms you got gone through in the past. God wants us to metamorphosize into better versions. Ones that trust Him regardless. And that is not easy. That I know. But is it necessary? You better believe it. That's all I want to say to you today. Trust Him regardless of where you are at. Because He's the only anchor that will keep you safe. He's the only one that will keep you strong. He's the only one that will guide you through the storm and not drop you in the middle of it. That's all I want to say. I hope it's encouraged you. I hope it's motivated you. I hope it's caused you to think a little bit. If it has, please let us know in the comments box. After you've done all the YouTube admin, please. But for now, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks. I'll speak to you soon.